Hello, it is Thursday the 31st of October. I hope everyone's doing okay. I'm going to take a look at crypto markets, but I'm going to talk about regular markets first because today's the last day of the month, and honestly it's my least favourite day to trade of the month, mainly because kind of bigger trends don't tend to apply on the last day of the month. You tend to see pullbacks in markets that have done really well, and you tend to see markets that have underperformed kind of stop going down, and so it's not a very good day for a trend trader usually, or a swing trader, which is what I mainly am. And that also, as more and more kind of institutional investors are involved in crypto, and particularly Bitcoin and ETH and so on, I think that we're going to see that effect, certainly in those bigger markets. And I've said this before, I hope I'm not repeating myself, but the main reason is that most of these institutional investors don't decide they're going to buy so many Bitcoin or ETH. They allocate a percentage of their portfolio to it. So if we take a look at Bitcoin and where we are, and if we look at what we've done since the beginning of October, on the 1st of October, I think we closed at 60,700. Here we are at 72,000. So we're up, 18% on the month. I don't know where we're going to close today. We could end up 20% up, which means that those firms that have allocated a fixed percentage are going to be overweight Bitcoin and will need to sell some. Let's hope they don't need to sell 20%, but that's kind of the move that we're talking about. And that is why around month end or just after, you will tend to see these moves, and you will tend to see stuff that has underperformed have a little bit of bounce back. So no matter, we are in a little bit of a trickier area, aren't we, at these previous highs? And if we zoom all the way out, we're sideways around the highs from 2021. So whilst I really like the look of this for a breakout, there is a little bit of a risk that with month-end rebalancing and stuff, we could see a little bit of a bigger pullback here in Bitcoin. Not too worried about it. I think actually it'll be a really nice opportunity. There are a lot of disbelievers in Bitcoin in this, and who didn't buy this, and who hopefully, once we have seen this, because we've seen this such a nice move, they will see this as a buying opportunity. So today's a really good day to kind of not get too freaked out by the moves, or give too much to it. The other thing is that Bitcoin and crypto is very correlated with the NASDAQ, and earnings this week have been a bit of a drag on NASDAQ, mainly because this week it's a really big week for tech earnings. We've already had Microsoft and Meta. After the close tonight, we've got Amazon and Apple, and they're really big deals. And one of the biggest problems is that AI hasn't been making as much money for these firms as was expected. So Microsoft, particularly capacity constraints with their data centers, were limiting their ability to meet demand. They're just not making as much money as they would. And over at Meta's been pretty heavily hit with this because of, he outlined how much of a big an investment he'd made in AI, but cautioned about widening losses. So that has been weighing on these features, and that's mainly the reason. And so we'll see what we get from Amazon and Apple after the close. But just watch out for that, because it's a little bit of a tape bomb, and we could see some de-risking ahead of non-farm payrolls tomorrow, a new mean, and of course the big US election next Tuesday. So expect kind of counter trend flows today, and perhaps not the best trendy day of the week. Over in ETH, which as you know has been really underperforming, we are still on this daily really stuck in this pretty nasty sideways range, a lower high. I see this trying to reverse, and I do think that there's kind of a reversion trade here. I'm not actively buying ETH against anything else, but I am trying to hold more of it because I do think that we will see a bigger bounce. And whilst we're in this, again, I think that we could see a bigger pullback today, and again, a buying opportunity. but I'm going to leave that one and wait for it to set up. Solana, which has done really well. This chart is so similar to Bitcoin. But one of the things I like about this is I had a really level that I was really worried about here at 171, which was based on a whole bunch of measured moves. Let me take it off. And we traded above this level, and we are kind of retesting these highs, that come all the way from March, just like Bitcoin. But unlike Bitcoin, we have not broken out from this consolidation pattern. Now, the thing about 786 fibs and 618 fibs, or just fibs in general, if you think about them like a ladder, what tends to happen is if you get above one, they should be support if we're going to keep going higher. So I would really like to see this 618 fib level in Solana be support on a pullback over this month end. It's at 171.74. That was originally my target. And I think as long as we do, then I'm looking higher from here to 188 and then holding outside of this consolidation, we can start talking about this being a bigger breakout. In Elliott Wave, Elliott Wave has a lot of guidelines, but not very many rules. But one of the big rules is that trending markets tend to be contained within a parallel channel. And when you break out from that channel, that tends to be over. So if we can break out here, I think we see a retest of the highs and potentially next leg higher beginning for Solana, which would be really good news, because if we go all the way back to 2023, this looks to me very much like 5 waves up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 3-wave pullback, which means this would be a nice big wave 1, and this next swing higher will be the really big one. That's kind of what I'm hoping. So let's take a look at some more charts. First off, I've got a request for POPCAT. Now this is one that's doing really well. You can't argue with this chart. It's in a really nice trend, but whenever I look at this, so this swing that we have done from the low on the 5th of August, which is where Bitcoin and everything else bottomed, kind of looks like we might be in a 5 wave. Now, if that's the case, and we do start, for example, a bigger pullback here, when you see 5 waves up like this, the most common pullback is towards this wave 4, the bottom, the last previous swing low. And so that would mean, we could come back to 118 in this one, which is quite a long way. So I would say, after such a big spike, just be careful that this doesn't turn into a bigger pullback and take some profit. I think this is still going higher, but one thing that makes me a little bit cautious that we might see this bigger one is, in a trending market. So you in a trending market, you tend to not. I'm just going to draw it a bit better. You tend to see the waves not overlap, but when you get into a wave 5, quite often it'll be choppier and they'll overlap like this, which is what we are starting to see here in POPCAT. And that says to me that this is a wave 5, and then potentially we could see a bigger pullback back to the bottom of the start of it, which would be back to this daily 50. For now, as you know, I'm a big fan of moving averages. We are holding this 20 moving average. We've done that basically for a couple of months now, and as long as we keep holding this daily moving average, which now is at 145, that we're still trending higher. If we close back underneath this 20 moving average, which has been support all the way up, then we are likely to see that bigger pullback and back to kind of 115 area in POPCAT. So for now, we're a little bit stretched to the upside. Don't forget to pay yourself, and be aware that at some point this really kind of is going to see a little bit of a bigger pullback, and month end wouldn't be a crazy place for that to happen. There are in these altcoins some really nice chart patterns setting up. I know I've talked about them before. Here's one, this one, a little one. Whenever you see a bottoming pattern like this, doesn't this look good? And we can see this made very nice 5 waves down. So worst case scenario, we would see a 3-wave bounce back here. And if I measure, I don't like this spike here. I originally put my fibs from there. If I put this on here, you can see that actually this is also the 236 fib that we're kind of fighting over here. Not a breakout yet, but when we do, you know, the easy way with a head and shoulders pattern like this to get your target is measure from the head to the shoulder and project it from the breakout level, which puts us somewhere in between a 50 and 61.8. Fib retrace in this one, PRCL. So no breakout yet, but setting up potentially a really nice bottom and buying pullbacks. Anticipating a breakout, I think, is a really nice way to do it. There is another one. I'm competing this week in an influencer battle to win $10,000 for animal rescue charity. As you know, I really kind of like those ones that do that. I'm just trying to find my chart here. Let's take a look at it. The token for this one, because this is another one that's also making a pretty nice bottoming pattern. This is PSPS or POPCAT. If we look from the highs, here we made a very nice ABC equal measured move, which usually means, you know, we'll see at least 3 waves the other way, but I like that this has made 5 waves from the low on the 5th of August, which is also when Bitcoin bottomed, and we've reached that first target of this 236 fib zone. So holding above 0.028, this one should really fly. Now, if this is just going to make a 3-wave correction here, then above this level, happy days. And pulling back to this daily 200 moving average is a really good place to look today to see some support. But if everything has a bit of a bad day in crypto, you know, we could unfortunately see a bigger pullback, but this is still, in terms of the bigger pattern view, setting up really nicely. So more money they make, more money they donate. So I'm happy with that. The other kind of bigger one that I've been looking at this week is SEI. Now, before we go, if we break out from this one above 0.028, first target would be 0.041 and then 0.0522. In the other one I've been playing with this week is SEI. Where have I hidden it? There we go. Here we go. Now, a simple reason that I like this one is it made a textbook 3-wave equal measured move back to the 50% and bounce from this level. It hit the first target in the first kind of trouble area, which is these bunched up daily moving averages. And it's very normal the first time you come back to daily moving averages like this to have a little bit of a pullback. I traded it off the double bottom retest here. And so I'm watching this one very tightly, you know, because it could, with month end, end up doing kind of a bigger, you know, double bottom, hopefully not bottoming pattern here. But I kind of really like this one. Now, worst case scenario, if I expect a pullback or a bottoming pattern, you know, if it's not going to break out, it will just go 50% of this ABC. But just because of the way this is set up, I am trading this one. Okay, I hope that's useful. Just expect a little bit of a weird day today, and we could see, you know, some losses in stock indexes as people de-risk ahead of the week ahead. Then it could be a little bit of an anchor and a drag on crypto and risk assets today. The only thing that's really doing well out there seems to be gold.